agenda item, and that is to talk about the COVID update. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Ouellette and his team to fill us in on any new recommendations that the administration may have.
Absolutely. So as we talked about pretty early on, when we started talking about the, hold on, sorry, the delay of the thing finally caught on. So as we talked about at the beginning of the year, when we talked about putting our school closure matrix together and all these different things we have going on, and we talked about COVID, we said it's a fluid situation. And one of the things that we committed to was sometimes we might have to make decisions before the 2-week period, and we might have to make adjustments to things. And so this is kind of one of those situations. And because this is kind of the first time we've kind of gone out of our normal sync with making decisions, it felt it was a good opportunity for the board to really actually make those decisions, and then we'll kind of move forward on some of the stuff. So, as we've been watching how things are going, I don't think it's any surprise that the number of cases in the county have risen, and the number of cases in some of our buildings have risen. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you today. Let's see here, screen one. Okay, there we go. Hopefully everybody can see that. Can you all see that? Yeah, yes. Okay, great. So what I can try to do is maybe make it a little bit bigger so people can be able to see it at home. But essentially what I'm sharing with you is this is our school closure. This is like our positive count where we keep track of everything as far as number of new positive cases per day. And then also, we also keep track on here of how many people are out in any given building that are positive. So, this bottom number here, like the high school, these aren't 10 people on Wednesday and then a new 13 and then a new 14. These 10 people on Wednesday might, more than likely make up 10 of the 13 on this day as well. So it's not new. The bottom line is not new cases. The new cases are the new cases we're seeing per day. That's on the top line. Obviously, it says new cases. The percentage out is something that we were tracking on the original matrix. We still track it so that we kind of have that data and are watching what's going on. But right now in the current school closure matrix, it doesn't affect the decision making. So a couple of things to think about is as we're looking at our numbers, what we've seen is the high school numbers are up and they're up. They've hit kind of that threshold. Once you hit 21 cases, that's been our threshold, the high school, to take us from hybrid to virtual in grades 10 through 12, and then from 9th grade to hybrid. And so we've already hit that, even though it's Wednesday and there's still 4 days left in the reporting period. And so it doesn't look as though, it's slowing down. And so one of the things that we wanted to look at, and the same thing at the middle school, we have not hit our next threshold yet, but based on how things are going, go ahead, Bruce.
Could you enlarge this a little bit to make it bigger on the screen for the viewers?
Yep.
And just had a request texted.
So that should, that's as big as I can make it right now. And I'm looking at the YouTube feed. It should be easily readable at that point. So the middle school, although they're not at their threshold like the high school is, we have all indications to believe the middle school is going to hit their threshold by next Wednesday. And so the thought process behind, recommendations tonight is that the middle school is going to go to the next threshold. The high school's already hit the next threshold, and the elementaries are actually in really good shape. As we're hanging in there. And so the first part of the recommendation has to do with taking the high school to virtual 10 through 12, starting sooner. Originally it was going to be to start on this coming Monday. So not wait till the Monday after Thanksgiving, start this Monday, and then grades basically 6 through 9 starting this Monday, going into hybrid, and then staying in those two modes for those levels uh, until we get to winter break and reassessing things and making some determinations at that point. However, we are also proposing, because it is a challenge. It has been a huge challenge on our staff, whether it be virtual, whether it be hybrid, whether it be anything that we're doing, even face to face with IDL. We're getting to a breaking point with staff, as far as with some staff that just the level of stress they're under and everything we have going on. We're trying to look for ways to support them. So the next part of the recommendation has us, going to, instead of a 2-hour early out on Wednesdays, going to a 3-hour early out on Wednesdays, to try to get some more time. Because one of the things that we're seeing is because of the amount of cases that we're having in the county, although at the elementary, for example, we're not seeing a lot of positive cases, we're seeing a lot of kids that are getting pulled and being quarantined because parents are positive or siblings are positive. And so what's happening is it's putting a much larger burden on these ins and outs with our IDLers. It's a lot of prep work for staff, trying to make sure they have what they need when they go home and everything along those lines. So that's kind of the next part of the recommendation. And then, another part of the recommendation would be on the 23rd of December, which is the day before we go to winter break, is that we would, that would become basically a non-school day for kids. However, staff would be using that as a work day to get caught up as well, so that, they can head into break as well, kind of, with a lot of their stuff ready to go and done, so that when they come back from break, it's, we're in a good spot. And so it is trying to balance what staff needs, what parent needs are, what our student needs are. And so we're trying to balance all those things. And so this is what we took to TAC, the Teacher Advisory Committee, this afternoon, and had conversation about it and asked them for their feedback ahead of the recommendation. And one of the things that they felt extremely strong about, and something that I would say the majority of districts around us, both on the west of the river and east of the river, is when their districts have changed models, or when their staff have had to change models, they have 1 or 2 work days built in there to gear up for that model. Now, that's not something that we've done yet, but I think what's happening is it's taking its toll on staff. And so, one of the things that, they brought to us, and, I'm bringing to you, and I am supportive of what they're asking for, is could we potentially look at Monday and Tuesday of next week for basically 6 through 12 being teacher work days, so that when they come back after Thanksgiving, they're ready to go, where 10 through 12 is going to be virtual and 6 through 9 is going to be hybrid, and they feel like they have their feet underneath them as they get ready to do this push into the the remainder of 2020 as we look at that. And so I said I absolutely bring it to the board, and I can be supportive of that. And but that is a little bit of a change from what we were originally thinking, but that's from the feedback we got from staff at the Teacher Advisory Committee. So with that, I guess what I'll do is I will open it up to questions.
Mr. President.
Yes, Rob.
So Nick, our families certainly, we need to take care of our teachers and staff, and at the same time balance that with the needs of our families, our students. With regards to athletics, I know there's a question, or there will be questions around, if we go virtual 10 through 12, how does that affect athletics?
So, I think, what we talked about at the last meeting is if we were still in school, some level of face-to-face, that we would still allow that school to participate in activities, athletics and things. We did check with the conference what they're doing, because there's a lot of conference schools that are going completely virtual for the next 3 or 4 weeks related to high school and even middle school. All of our conference schools, with the exception of River Falls and Superior, are planning on continuing to play activities or athletics, even if the high school is in a virtual. And I think the rationale behind that was, originally to cancel athletics, it was the worry that, kids may pick something up playing athletics and then bring it into the building, and more exposure. But if they're going to be virtual, then there'd be we wouldn't have that risk. It is trying to balance, what things can we try to keep open for kids and things like that. I did talk to our AD. I said, what do coaches think of that? Continuing to have sports going, athletics going, even if we happen to go 10 through 12 virtual. He said that he believes that they all would want to continue to keep going and keep playing. Should we do that?
Great question, Rob. I saw Sue's hand go up. Sue, what question do you have?
So let me ask this question. Looking at the numbers, can they be bended in a way to accommodate hybrid 6 through 12 rather than dividing it up hybrid and virtual? I mean, can we just make everybody 6 through 12 hybrid and then face-to-face in the maintain the face-to-face in the elementary? Can you is there any probability that we could do that?
I mean, we can do whatever you'd like. I think
I don't mean what I like. I mean, what I'd like is,
COVID to be gone and everything to be back to normal.
Well, yeah, that's not possible. But no, I'm asking just like that number that we're looking at for the 10th, 11th, 12th, and so on. Is there any negotiating?
Yeah, I mean, so are you asking, can we group 6 through 12 together instead of having basically K9 and then 10, 12? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
I'm not hearing anybody.
Can you hear me, Sue? All right.
Now I can.
Okay. So I just want to rephrase to clarify. Are you asking, can we group 6 through 12 together and then K5 together versus K9 and 10, 12? Is that what you're asking? Yes. Okay. And absolutely we can. I mean, that's something we can do. It's just, right now it's the matrix is where it is, but as the board always reserves the right to change anything on the matrix. And so if that's a direction you'd like to go, I mean, we can absolutely make those changes.
And Nick, I don't assume what Sue just suggested. I want to follow up on Sue and then I'll get to you, Heather. I assume that was not discussed at TAC as a potential option of just grouping all grades or all the 6 to 12 together in hybrid.
No, it was not discussed at TAC. I would tell you that it would be my impression based on feedback from staff that I've gotten so far is that I don't think they would be overly supportive of keeping the high school in any level of face-to-face other than 9th grade and hybrid. Now, again, that's the feedback I'm getting from them that we got from TAC members. I don't know, Dave, Tracy, Andrea, anybody that, or Aaron, if you were involved in that meeting today, Tim, is that kind of the read you got from staff today?
Yeah, I think that matches what I had heard. The one thing that I've been hearing out and about a little bit more is a desire to consider now grouping the schools together. So a 9-12 and a 6-8 grouping. I have been hearing that more, but not as part of TAC, just separate feedback that I've been hearing quite a bit lately.
But in order to do what Sue was just asking about, it would require us to basically make the second change to the matrix in less than a month, right? Because we just last changed it on October 26th.
Yes. I mean, yes, you would be changing the matrix. And again, that's your prerogative on that.
All right, Heather, why don't you go with your question since I knew you had your hand up.
Yeah, thanks, Jamie. Nick, can you talk a little bit about little more about the proposal to shorten Wednesdays? I mean, if we're going with a 3-hour early dismissal, I mean, those are really short periods. Is it even worth being in school? Have we talked at all about maybe just going to a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday instructional model where Wednesday would be, independent learning by those older students, and then a full day of teacher prep time? It just, I mean, that 3-hour early dismissal, I wonder about the efficacy of that.
Yeah, I mean, there's always challenges. I mean, when you start chunking away time out of the instructional day, but I guess, my thought would be any minute we're getting with kids face to face is a bonus right now. And so, not that maybe down the road we couldn't look at that. I also think that we have to balance. We're trying to balance some of these needs, and even at the elementary. So that 3-hour early dismissal would not just be at the middle school, high school, it'd be at the elementary as well. And I think when you start talking about taking a day every week and having kids at home, it does create some challenges for our families, and really some inequitable challenges, because some families don't have the option to work from home. Maybe both parents work outside the home or in the service industry or stuff like that. And so it is a balance, and this is the same thing that I told staff when they kind of proposed the same thing. We're trying to balance the needs of our staff and our teachers, and that with not putting parents in an untenable situation as well.
No, thanks, Nick, for the reminder. I didn't realize that would be an early dismissal across the system. I thought that was just middle and high school, so that makes sense. Thank you for that explanation.
Yep.
Any other
questions? Bruce has hand up.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know if it's a question per se, Jamie, just more so a statement. I mean, I think the matrix was put in place for a reason at the beginning of the year, and I think we've tried to do our best to read what's going on, understand all the different data points that are happening. I think the call tonight is really inaudible just because the numbers have grown so quick, but it still kind of holds back to the matrix itself. I think it makes sense for us to make a decision to move early to a different position with our students just based upon the numbers. I don't know why we would want to sway from that much. I mean, yes, the numbers are climbing. Yes, we do want to try and keep our kids in face-to-face learning as much as possible safely. We want to keep our staff safe, and we want to try and keep those activities going. I mean, we talked about that in our last meeting as well. So, I mean, I think to me, it's more of us looking at the matrix itself, not necessarily trying to propose changes to try and figure out how to make the numbers look different. I think it's more so making sure that we're reading what's happening right now, reacting appropriately to the data, and then we come back to it again. We'll be talking about this on Monday, and we'll see what those numbers are on Monday again. And we may need to have another special meeting right after Thanksgiving. I mean, it just might be that way for a little bit. I think it's the prudent thing for us to do as a board, but again, trying to keep activities going as much as we can, trying to keep things that, we believe, at least at this point in time, aren't putting significant strain, into the system.
As a follow-up, while you have this up, this chart of the charts of the buildings, I'm now wondering out loud if there was, I hadn't caught this before, but, and I don't know if it was intended or it's an unintended thing, but it's clear that we're in the far right column right now. The cases in the county are almost double what our max is on this chart of 50, if not over that double. And if you look at the high school one, just the high school one, it says that if there's 31 cases in the high school, then that we would be with early childhood and 4K virtual. I don't think that was intended. I certainly am not in favor of that because I don't see why numbers in one building ought to cause the rest of the district to go
Okay.
virtual.
Okay, so let me just explain the matrix a little bit. So what happens is this: the matrix is the exact same for each building, but based on where your building is, determines the box. So we're just saying that, okay, this box here, if in order for, let's say, EP Rock Elementary to go completely virtual, they have to have at least 16 cases at EP Rock, and the county has to be here. So each one of the schools is their own independent entity. So for example, at the high school, if the high school is, they're at 21, it means that 9th grade is in hybrid, 10 through 12 is in virtual, but it does not mean that the elementary or the middle schools are in hybrid. It just purely means for that building, go to this box, and whatever it says in this box, that's what that building does. So
the way you just explained it is the way that I always understood. Is just that when you look at the words, I mean, what you're telling folks is ignore the words and the type that are on the box, but instead just go by the color. Because if the color is this pinkish, purplish color, that means your school is in virtual, right? And if it's in the darker orange, it's whatever the, it depends on which building you are. It's either hybrid or virtual. And the yellow, same thing, face-to-face and hybrid. So it's not that one building is going to send the whole district into virtual.
That's exactly right. I mean, so hopefully what people have seen, and I can pull it up here and then just show like from the 11th. Just going to try to make this really big. Let's see, share. I'm just going to move this over here real quick. Can you guys now see, a box with circles in it and stuff like that?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So what happens is every 2 weeks, what we do is you can see for the high school, we circled this box, and that's the box the high school's in. So whatever this tells the high school to do in that box, that's what the high school does. And then you can see the elementaries and the middle school, which boxes, they're in. And so they do whatever is inside the box that's circled. So don't disregard what's in the box. The big piece is whatever that building is. So Prairie's an elementary, they do whatever is in the circled box for elementaries, just like the middle school does whatever is in that doesn't make much sense. I keep saying circled box, sorry. But what's ever in the circled area. So the middle school is within the 4K to 9, so they're face to face. So it's every school gets a different circle depending on how their school is operating.
All right.
So you could technically have an elementary like EP Rock could be in this area right here, saying that they need to go to hybrid, and North Hudson could still be up here going face to face. So it's not even by overall level. It is truly by building.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yep.
And sorry if it was redundant.
Oops.
All right. You can stop your screen share now.
Yeah, I see that.
All right.
President?
So, yes, I've seen more hands up of board members. Go ahead, Carrie.
I apologize. I've got some internet connections. I'm not getting everything. I've gotten a lot of things. But going back to the TAC survey earlier, I don't know if it was addressed or if you mentioned if you spoke with teachers about at the high school having to go with completely virtual learning 10 through 12. Will those teachers be able to teach from their homes, provided they have sufficient internet access?
I would say that our original plan, because we have addressed the childcare issue with subsidizing childcare, that we, at least to start, we would expect staff to work in the buildings, deliver instruction from the buildings.
Right. Yeah, I remember that was discussed, yeah, way back early on, back in August. And so would there be any reason to change that? I don't see, if we address the childcare issue, what's the issue with teachers being able to teach in the buildings and from their classrooms where the camera is and so forth? I have not heard that.
Are you asking me?
No, well, you or just anybody. I have not heard that there's an issue. As long as the childcare problem, if you want to call it that, is solved, what is the issue of being able to teach from the
Mr.
room?
President, well, I could see where a teacher would say, you're having me bring my children from a more safe environment, which would be staying at home, to an environment that, while as safe as we can make it, is still less safe because they're in an environment where they are with other kids and other adults. So I can see where, from a teacher perspective, that might be a less desirable option for their family.
I guess I would tell you that having experienced IDL from the parent perspective, as my kids were quarantined, it would be almost impossible for someone to be able to provide childcare for their own kids and deliver instruction synchronously to kids and be able to do it well. I mean, I'm not saying you can't do it. It's just it would be very difficult, I think, to try to manage little kids and try to deliver instruction on a computer. Not saying that somebody couldn't do it. I'm just saying I think it would be very, very, very difficult. And then what ends up happening is the disruption happens. It creates challenges.
All right. Other comments? Yes, Heather.
So
And then-
follow-up question on the matrix. So when we meet on Monday, you mentioned, Nick, that we're already at 21 for the high school, and we have 3 days left before the numbers that would fully populate the next scorecard. So if we do have another 10 cases in the next 3 days, I assume, would that then, we would move ahead and the 9th grade would also be in the fully hybrid, because that would move the high school into that red zone? Is that correct?
9th grade would be fully virtual. Is that what you meant?
I'm sorry, fully virtual. Thank you, Carrie. Yeah, fully virtual.
Yes.
Should we get to that?
Yep. And I think the thing I just want to be upfront with people is us going virtual or us going hybrid. I hope people don't think that we're going to see fewer cases, because more than likely we're not going to see fewer cases, because our cases that we have gotten have primarily been acquired outside of school. And so we'll still continue to get reports of who's positive as long as there are kids, and we'll continue to track it and put it into the matrix. But I no different than like IDL students that have been on IDL the entire time and have ended up being positive, we still put that into the matrix. So I just don't want to give anybody a false sense of, if we just go virtual 10 through 12 or 9 through 12, we're going to see the numbers at the high school decrease. More than likely, that's not going to be the case. Our numbers at the high school have almost matched kind of the increase as it relates to the county, whereas our numbers at the middle school and the elementaries have not followed that same pattern type of thing.
Rob, did you have a question?
Yeah, just probably more of a clarifying comment. I just want to make sure I've got the district's proposal down. So with regards to athletics, Aaron Moen will come and visit with us Monday, and he'll talk about how he's going to balance community spread with making sure kids have an opportunity to continue playing their sports. I thought I heard Nick say 10-12 virtual, 6-9 hybrid. Elementary would still continue to be in person. Wednesdays would go from 2 hours to 3 hours, early release. December 23rd would be a non-school day. That would be a staff catch-up prep day, if you will. You also mentioned—
That would be for K-12, staff K-12 on the 23rd.
Okay, staff K-12. You also mentioned this a Monday, Tuesday. I think it was after Thanksgiving. That would be a staff staff prep days?
Before
It would
then,
actually be the 2 days prior to Thanksgiving.
Okay,
What we would do is in grades 6 through 12, those grades would be at home. And it would be staff prep days on Monday and Tuesday. Elementaries would still go to school as normal on Monday and Tuesday next week.
was that part of your recommendation as well, the Monday, Tuesday?
Yes.
Okay,
I like that, Nick. I think, again, I know we spoke about that, but I think, I know it might put a little bit of strain on families, but I think even going into the holidays as well, it gives at least a few days where people are hopefully, again, being diligent and smart about how we're attacking this thing in our community. I know there's been some articles that have been shared with the board, and I mean, again, probably a number of folks watching this tonight. For us to keep our kids in school, we have got to continue to do the smart things in our community. And there's just no other way around it. You know, if we can find ways to keep our gatherings small, stay within our own families, I mean, the numbers will prove themselves out, and hopefully we can get back to more in-person learning. So again, I mean, I just implore us as a community to make sure that we're putting our kids first here and finding ways to make that our priority as we go into the holidays. So
I have a follow-up to that and something Carrie said, but I'll turn it over to Bob. Bob, you've had your hand up. So
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was kicked off the internet, so I don't know what you guys have been talking about for the last 5 minutes, but I assume it's the same. I'd like to just follow up with Bruce there. You know, we've been receiving a lot of emails and you know, imploring us to be an example of guidance for the community on this. We can only control the schools. We can only control what we can, and that's, you know, good sanitation or sanitizing and distancing and masks, and hopefully that carries over to the community and the home. But you know, if you watch the St. Croix County board meeting last night, you know that there's a lot of disagreement on masks and this and that, and we really can only do what we do. I'm very proud of the numbers that we've kept them low. I would suggest anything we can do to keep face-to-face in the grade schools. I know we're not there yet having that discussion, but if the numbers keep rising, we've made some good choices on you know, retaining subs and to keep our staff healthy. I just really hope that the people watching tonight realize that even if we didn't answer some of those emails that have been sent, you know, we read it all. We can't control the bars, restaurants, Target, sleepovers, all that kind of thing. So it certainly is the safety of our staff and students, and I'm very happy with the meeting tonight. Thank you.
all right. Heather, go ahead.
Yeah, Nick, I'm wondering, I know we've had a couple of questions from folks who have asked, so if school isn't where people are contracting COVID, why are we pulling kids out of school? And I mean, I think based on what I just heard, but I'd like for you to share kind of your thoughts on. I think our answer is because of the mitigation strategies we put in place, we have been able to prevent school-based transmission, and the numbers in the community are rising at such alarming rates that even the mitigation strategies we have in place, we're no longer feeling comfortable that that's going to keep our students and staff safe. And so we're moving to the next level of mitigation. Is that an accurate response, or do you have a different way that you would respond to those folks who are, again, who are saying, but if you're saying kids aren't getting it in school, that they're getting it in community, why then are we, you know, moving from hybrid to all virtual? Why are we moving from in-person to hybrid?
You know, it's a tough question. You know, as you've said too, you know, we don't know for sure that we're not contributing to the issue. You know, we don't believe that we don't believe we're making it worse. However, it is a challenge. And I think, some of the other districts, because a lot of people say, well, the other districts that have already gone virtual, why has Hudson not made the right choice to be safer like the other districts? The other districts have struggled to staff their buildings. And that's something that we've been reasonably okay with. I mean, I'm not saying we're 100% staffed all the time, but we're able to operate. And I think, for us, the way that this is moving as quickly as it is, with the number of cases that we're seeing starting to pick up right now, that's impacting more and more kids and more folks in our buildings in general, it is trying to take a little bit of a step back. I think the other piece, as we look at this, we are tracking staff cases as part of it. And, we've had quite a few staff cases. I think, we probably broke the 50 staff case mark. And so I think, it's trying to find a balance between, protecting staff, providing opportunities for kids, not making the community feel like, oh my God, we're just closing. And, it is a challenge. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I personally don't believe us closing is going to have a huge benefit on the community spread, and I often worry that it sometimes can make it worse as kids have more time that's unstructured outside of us. But I think at this point, it's a matter of, trying to hit a reset, trying to get our bearings underneath us. We made it all the way to basically Thanksgiving, which a lot of people didn't think we'd be able to do. And right now our elementaries are still going strong. So if we start seeing a rapid decline in our ability to staff our buildings right now, by going to this model, we'll be able to focus more of our substitutes on elementaries and more of the face-to-face stuff, which will allow to keep them open, I think, longer. Because like I said, we've had staff, we have staff positives, but when you count the overall amount of staff that have been out at least one time or another as it relates to COVID, because they're close contact or positive or something along those lines, I mean, we're talking over 275 staff this has impacted. And so it's only a matter of time before we get to a point where we can't staff our buildings. So what we're trying to do is be a little bit proactive so we can keep things rolling and keep education going as long as possible.
And Mr. President, too, if I could just say a quick thing about TAC tonight, too, is that I think it's fair to say that the teachers on the committee implored us to talk to the board, that they are at their breaking point. That I understand it's a careful balance. I have kids in the district. I understand how difficult it is to be in your shoes right now, but I think our staff have gone through a lot this fall. We've, asked them to radically change how they teach. We've put, with the high school, middle school, virtual, going to virtual, doing the hybrid, having the additional days is going to be fantastic next week for them. But I really want the board to understand that, and just sitting here, I've gotten messages, email messages talking about, please talk to the board, let them know we're struggling and it's real. And I use the word palpable. It's palpable. They are doing their best. They're putting on a brave face and they are teaching our kids and they are rocking it. But it takes a toll. And I just want to make sure as HR director that you guys are aware that it's very real for staff and there's many staff that are struggling.
Sue, you had your hand up and then Carrie.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Andrea. I can't really imagine, but thank you for sharing empathetically your conversations with faculty. I wanted to address a question to Aaron on the mental health arena. And I know you can't talk about the entire school district, so maybe more of a focus of middle school, high school, but would you care to comment just kind of on some areas where there's the most visible impact just on the well-being and mental health of our children? And then what would you anticipate, especially with the high school going into virtual? What other targeted areas we might anticipate? Like, I'm already aware of some kids in terms of suicide ideation. I don't know if I say that word right. Issues. So I just would like, if you can give a little snapshot, that I'd appreciate it.
Sure. I mean, these are frequent conversations that happen in student services staff. Our counselors, our social workers, prevention specialists are working really hard to try to maintain that personal connection with students. More than ever, we've also pushed out, or they have also pushed out more information to parents about resources to help, reminding parents how their students can get in touch with the counselor if they need it. And then reaching out directly to those students who we know are either struggling or have struggled in the past. I was at the high school today and those conversations were happening in anticipation of the board meeting tonight. And, you know, what can we do proactively to continue to support that student connection, because we know that's important. I would say we're also having conversations about our mental health initiatives and how we can continue that work this year without putting additional professional development or stress on staff. So there's a lot of kind of behind the scenes work happening around that. We're trying to continue those as much as possible, but just thinking about ahead to next year, how can we poise ourselves and build those structures in place so that we can respond more proactively to students next year as well? Because, you know, we know that we're going to need to build those systems in next year. And if we can do the work now, I think that would be great. Our mental health advisory council has been active even through COVID. And so when we met last week, really talking through, this may be the year that the mental health council focuses on supporting our staff. And how can we engage the community in providing some resources and gratitude and just outreach to our staff. So working on a couple of projects around that as well.
All right, Carrie, you had your hand up.
Just as a follow-up to Heather and what Andrea were saying, I do think it's very important to listen to our teachers. No matter what our parents feel about needing to have their kids in school, we have to have teachers in school to teach those kids. And it's not just about whether or not our kids are getting it, but teachers feel unsafe, they're very stressed. So I'm very supportive of the plan put forth by the administration.
Thank you, Carrie. I guess I had some comments and I want to follow up and appreciate all the comments my fellow board members have had and appreciate the input of administration. I too am very supportive of the recommendation. Last time that we spent this much time on it was October 26th, and that was the day we got tons of emails. Unfortunately, I think Heather's right, there a lot of them were sparked from a rumor that didn't have complete truth to it, as far as that we were going to shut down the whole school district from 4K to 12. That was never really ever going to be a consideration. But I think that what this is about is integrity. And we set the matrix at the beginning of the year, trying to do our best, something that very few, if any, other school districts on our side of the river did. We don't have the guidance from the state like Minnesota has, where they have the edicts coming down from a governor, so forth. We have to try and do our best. And that's what we're doing, balancing all these factors. I want to echo what Andrea said. We get that. If teachers say they want to be heard, heard loud and clear. Every board member knows that already, that teachers are stressed, but they should know already that we all appreciate the work they've done. We appreciate the fact that we have put them in harm's way. We have done that. They are at risk, and it's not something that we take lightly. That was Of all the emails that we continue to get, today was another big email day because people saw that we were calling this special meeting. And yes, we are getting the emails from folks who say that we are idiots if we don't go to all virtual 4K through 12, or that we are idiots if we move our kids from in person. The accusations, the threats, and the name calling, not very persuasive, but what I am finding persuasive are the real stories. What's persuasive to me is that teachers being at their breaking point, parents at their breaking point. And what I'm getting is a seeming consensus that people want us to just do the best we can, try to balance all these factors. And I appreciate the emails that say, I'm not even going to advocate one way or the other. I just want you to keep these factors in place, and everything that we're doing, we're not taking this lightly. That email that we got today that said, start taking this seriously. I am personally offended at that because I know how hard our administration works at this. I know how hard my fellow school board members struggle with this because it's not something that we just do on a whim. So I want to see us do integrity for the matrix. And we set this, we changed it on October 26th, but we didn't do it on just a 2 weeks notice. I mean, we did it after getting a couple of months of feedback and realizing that maybe we were too heavy on the county numbers and not focused enough on the building numbers. Well, now the building numbers are coming to roost at the high school. And so for us to say we're going to ignore that and keep our kids in school, even though the matrix calls for it to go virtual 10 to 12, I think would be disingenuous, lack of integrity. So we do know, and one email implored us to follow the science and the wisdom from the medical experts. Well, just at our last meeting, we had Dr. McGinnis talk to us and say, all right, he's pretty confident that there's no studies that are showing transmission, up through grade 5. You start getting over grade 5, then there's some debate. And that's what we're not changing 4K through 5 tonight. And we're not really changing 10 to 12 because we're just doing what the matrix says. We're at 21 cases. Unfortunately, we're not even done with the full 14-day count, but we're at 21 cases. So we need to go virtual. It's just that middle school, and like Heather's question, which I know was thrown out there is, why are we doing that if the numbers don't dictate yet at the middle school? Well, looking at the trend, it's very possible we could be at 14 by Tuesday at the middle school. I like the recommendation and trying to give the teachers some credit here with asking for those transition day. They asked for 1 day. We're giving them 2 in this recommendation of Monday and Tuesday. But because of the way the calendar works out, it makes sense. We're only going to be in school Monday and Tuesday anyway. It doesn't hurt our grade schoolers. It doesn't cause problems for our families that would need to scramble to find daycare. If we were going to take kids out of school on Monday and Tuesday, we're going to still have the 4K through 5 in school next week for Monday and Tuesday. So I like that part. I think the fact that we're giving people a heads up and we're going to look at what happens in December, and we're going to continue to do what we said we're going to do. Again, integrity. Every meeting we look at this. Every meeting we review the numbers and how things are going. And Nick, I know that you put out to the rest of the board an email indicating that our next work session, you were going to talk about a survey. And I think, can we talk about that a little bit right now? Because I think we did a survey in late June, early July, and obviously a lot has gone on since. I would like to see us do 3 surveys, actually. I want to see us do a survey of families. I want to see us do a survey of staff. And I want to see us do a survey of students, because kind of lost in all this is what the student voice is on this. So I would like to hear people's experiences, and obviously we're not going to put just a narrative out there, but I would like to see us do something, in early December, if we can, maybe between Thanksgiving and Christmas, that would give us just more feedback, more information to make decisions going forward. Can you address that?
Yeah. So one of the things that Kevin, team and I are going to be doing, we're going to be meeting tomorrow to build that survey, and then we'll bring it to the board for you guys to get your feedback on it, because we want to make sure that the questions that we're asking, the way the survey is crafted, is in a manner that the board finds to be give them the information that they need. as we continue to move forward, because what I don't want to have happen is have people come back after the fact and say, boy, it would have been nice you would ask this way or that way. And so I think bringing it to the board for feedback on Monday and then getting ready to roll it out sometime after Thanksgiving. It really is trying to understand, a lot of things. How do you want us to continue to move forward? Also, how are we doing on things? How have things gone? And trying to work through that and trying to figure out what those questions are. And then I think, if we get it out, we'll try to have it, if we can get it out relatively quickly after Thanksgiving, we might be able to have it open for about a week or so and then be able to bring the results back to a board meeting. And we'll share the results very publicly so that people can see this is the feedback we're getting from all the different stakeholder groups. And these are some of the balls that we're trying to juggle as we move through this. So yeah, that's what's coming, so that we continually get feedback. I know we did just send out a parent engagement survey about a month ago, and that was great getting feedback, but that was more on how we were doing as a district, not just related specifically to COVID. And the same thing with our staff engagement survey that went out about a month ago, and student engagement surveys, but those are more annual kind of dipsticks, for lack of a better term, of kind of how are things going, where do we need to make some adjustments. But this survey would be pretty specific to the topic of COVID and getting feedback on that as we move forward.
Thanks for addressing that. Sorry if I got a little bit up on the soapbox there, but it hasn't even been a full 2 weeks since our last meeting, and we're getting this feedback. But I wanted to also Sue's point about mental illness and suicide ideation. In our Rotary program this morning, we got feedback. There's a research showing that suicide ideation is up 250% in the last 7 months since COVID among preteens and teens, and how important it is that they have the ability to go to school and be in activities. And right now we haven't seen transmission of the disease with the kids in activities generally. So I think that it's really important that we continue those. Rob, did you have something to say? You're muted.
I was just going to ask if, Nick, you need a motion, or does this fall within the purview of your?
Well, so I think we'll take a motion. So let me just recap everything so you have it, and then it would be, so move it, second it, however you want to do it. So essentially what the recommendation is this, starting on Monday and Tuesday of next week, grades 6 through 12 will be at home, and those will be teacher work days. So there won't be any instruction provided to kids grades 6 through 12 on Monday and Tuesday of next week. Starting the Monday after Thanksgiving, grades 6 through 9 will be in hybrid. Grades 10 through 12 will be in virtual. They will stay in that model, at least in that model through winter break. And so, and then we'll reevaluate. I think our next count day is that it would be the count day we would reevaluate those to lessen those models or make them less restrictive would be on December 23rd. Okay, if sometime in the process between now and that time, we have our normal count day coming up on Wednesday the 25th. If the middle school all of a sudden has a huge burst of cases, they could be kicked down to virtual, or if the high school has even more cases, the 9th grade could get kicked to virtual. All we're really doing is just moving everything up and locking it in for at least at a minimum 3 weeks. In addition to that, you'd be approving an extra hour on the early out. So we go to a 3-hour early release on Mondays and a teacher work day for the 23rd of December. So it'd be a non-instructional day for kids, but it'd be a teacher work day on the 23rd of December.
You said you mean Wednesdays, not Mondays, right?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Yes. 3-hour early dismissal on Wednesdays. Yes, Carrie.
And was Monday and Tuesday of next week also work days for high school teachers?
Yes, 6 through 12. So 6 through 12 would be.
Sorry.
Yep. 6 through 12 next week would be non-school days for 6 through 12. And they would be teacher work days to get ready for the change in models.
And elementary would stay the same.
Elementary stay the same. And if elementary needed to kick to a different model, we would be looking at doing the same thing where we'd be looking to try to find 2 work days for them to get ready for the new model as well. But as of right now, things are going really well at the elementaries.
I apologize. One other question.
Yes.
Will the 3-hour early release on Wednesdays interfere with lunch?
We may have more of a, it may be more of a brunch, for some of them. So we will still offer lunch and do that, but it will probably be a little bit earlier in the day.
Hadn't we had to spread out our lunch periods though for social distancing? Will we be able to condense it enough to get everybody through?
Yes, I believe we'll be able to get everybody through, but as I said, it may be awfully early in the day for some of them. It'll be more of a brunch than a lunch.
Thank you.
Yep.
Nick, will that affect busing in any way too, that early release?
It absolutely affects busing. But I mean, we'll make it work. It will affect 4K, and we'll put out, we'll let parents know. And the 3-hour early release would start the Wednesday after Thanksgiving.
Heather?
Yeah, so I'm supportive of this, and I would encourage us, and I know that you'll be doing this, to really be talking to both, maybe through the survey, both students and staff about. I mean, the prep days are great, but that's not time when staff can connect with students. And so I'd be curious about if this does end up a longer term proposition. Again, would it be helpful for grades for middle and high school to have that Wednesday where students aren't in school and it's both teacher prep time, but also time when teachers can be connecting with students one-on-one? I have one kid who wishes we were in school full-time, high schooler, and another who chose IDL. And I think one of the things that we've seen is my kid's only one kid, the number of emails that we end up sending, trying to clarify, the number of times that she's trying to get a teacher to explain something to her. I have to think that takes a lot of time for staff when they are teaching students who are virtual. And so to really be thinking about, as we're being innovative with our scheduling and our instructional models, does it make sense to have, not just to give teachers an extra hour, but to look at maybe a whole day where students are presumably at home kind of doing homework, but also it's time when, almost like the college office hours, when students can connect with staff and staff can respond to students and respond to parents. So just to have that in mind as we're getting feedback from our staff and our students about what our model might look like moving forward after the first of the year. But I'm supportive of this proposal.
Rob?
Per Nick's recommendation, I move to accept the change in format.
Right. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Bruce got in there, I guess, just before Carrie. So motion by Rob, second by Bruce. Any other discussion?
One other quick comment, I guess, with Monday and Tuesday being work days. I do believe that there are some that, may be on, free and reduced lunch. Will we provide lunch for people on those days? And how would we communicate that? I know, Tim, you had quite a program going last year for that. Just curious if, that's like quick turnaround. So
yeah, we're gonna try our best to make sure that we've got, so we're already doing IDL meal distribution now.
Okay.
So we'll be able to shift over that pretty fast.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Right, and we'll still be able to provide, lunch to kids that 10 through 12 that are totally virtual. Even after Thanksgiving, we'll be able to set up where they can come in and get lunches.
Right.
Thank you.
Sue had something.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. I wanted to ask David something quick. David, do you have like, whatever you want to call it, help teams or something that your teachers can go to as they have to keep adjusting to these different formats for delivering teaching?
Yes, our instructional coaches really play that role and have been doing an amazing job. Literally, not a week goes by that I don't hear something from the instructional coach team about how they're innovatively supporting teachers, both on the academic side, but also they're filling a need on the social emotional side too. And they go hand in hand. You know, when you're feeling stressed and overworked, sometimes some support goes a long way, but then also sometimes you just need a little bit of a break, and they're fulfilling that need as well, doing an absolutely amazing job.
Thank you.
And just so I just want to follow up, and maybe I can put it in the recommendation. I mean, as of right now, we would continue to offer athletics until the board tells us to no longer offer athletics. Is that what I'm hearing you say as well?
Athletics and activities, other activities as well, right? Outside of athletics.
Okay.
I mean, I think, Nick, at some point we talked about, you know, do we maybe separate that from our, you know, current matrix that we have set up? Because there was some word set up for that. And I think if you think about it, right, I mean, even earlier on, back to the beginning, there was, you know, low risk sports and high risk sports, right? And, you know, again, not getting a lot of guidance on that. I think trying to understand what's happening, you know, in and amongst the conference is great. But even in and amongst the state, you know, I think there's opportunities for low risk activity to continue to move forward. And again, trying to keep kids mental wherewithal safe throughout for all those activities that we can keep, you know, going through this trying time.
Rob?
Yeah, and on that point, just to confirm, Nick, you'll have Aaron Moen come back, visit with us Monday for winter sports like he did on for fall sports.
Yeah, just give you an update of what our plan with that could be. Yep, I'll have that. And I do want to say, you know, so it doesn't get lost, you know, there's a big thank you to our administrative team, our cabinet team. I mean, you know, whether it's Andrea or Dave or Tracy or Tim or Aaron, they're advocating for their staff all the time, and trying to figure out what we can do and how we can continue to support staff. And I think sometimes that gets lost when maybe we can't do exactly what people want or things like that. And I just want people to know that the administrative team that I've gotten the opportunity to work with they're outstanding, and they're advocating for our staff, and they're trying to put people first. And not that they're not advocating for our kids, because they absolutely are, but you know, there's a lot of things that get juggled when we make these recommendations. There's a lot of moving parts to the logistics of implementing these things. And you know, I just want to say thank you to my team and how they've been working through this. So I do appreciate that.
Carrie?
Okay.
Sorry, not to throw a wrench in it, as I think we're nearing a vote, but do you think, in your opinion, that the elementary teachers could also use the days Monday and Tuesday to plan, since they've probably got a number of individual distance learners as well, and maybe now a growing number with the community cases rising? Or was that not something you heard from TAC?
I think any teacher could use more time to plan, to be quite honest with you. I mean, I think they're all feeling it. I mean, and Andrea tried to articulate that as best she could. It's you know, the biggest challenge when we start doing that at the elementary level is just, it does create probably a bigger disruption for families. Not saying that we can't do that. You know, if you guys want to look at potentially a day, even if it's just Tuesday for elementary, we could do that so that they would have the entire day on Tuesday. We could do that. I just, my concern sometimes is it's not a lot of notice for families to all of a sudden have to make some adjustments.
Child care issue, sure.
Yep.
So are you offering an amendment, Carrie, to the whole recommendation, or just a question?
Is that a
No, it
friendly
was just a
amendment?
discussion.
Okay. All right.
I didn't hear that, Jamie.
Second. Any other questions?
Was there an amendment or not an amendment? I can't.
No, she said no.
Okay.
At least I saw her shake her head, so.
I think, however, I mean, Nick, if you feel like that's something that you guys need to make a decision on after we get off the meeting here, I think you can make that at your discretion.
Okay.
Right. Any other questions, concerns? Otherwise, all those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay.
Nay. Or aye.
Right. So the motion carries. All those, I guess anybody want to, the motion carries and is approved. So is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right. There's a motion, a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Anyone opposed to adjourning? All right. With that,
Thank
we're
you.
adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you for your work, Nick, and administration. Appreciate it.
And thanks to the staff as well. Appreciate everyone.
And I didn't make you answer all my questions that I sent you earlier, so I'll be on you
I know.
later.